Hey guys. So, I know a lot of you know that I am participating in the Angel Run this month, and it's to raise money and awareness for domestic violence and to help a program called Break the Silence, which helps women rebuild their lives and get financial help and different types of counseling and things like that after they leave an abusive situation. Excuse me. So I have been dragging my feet about this video and still, as we speak, contemplating not sharing this. But I feel like I need to. Not just for me, but for anybody else who might be going through a similar situation. A lot of my close family and friends know that I was in a relationship with my high school sweetheart for almost 8 years. I have 2 beautiful children that came from that relationship. A lot of people used to tell us that we had a fairy tale and that they wished that they had the kind of passion we had. What a lot of people don't realize is that 4 of those 8 years were very abusive. They were not healthy. They were a struggle for me. And they were 4 very horrible years of my life. I don't really know what changed in him, but by the time I left that relationship, I didn't recognize the person I was with anymore. He wasn't the same person. I know that drugs and alcohol had a small part in that, especially towards the end as things got worse. I found out later on after we split that he admitted to using some pretty scary drugs, and I had no idea at the time. Some people tell me that I wasn't very smart because after it started, when I was 9 months pregnant with our son, instead of leaving him, I chose to try and work through it. And a year and a half later, we decided to have another baby. And I know that a lot of people will criticize me for that. Why would you have a child with somebody who was abusive? But I loved him and I thought he could change. And he always pushed me so hard to try and tell me that he could be a better person, that he wanted to be a better person. He just needed my help. It was always, I just need your help. I need you to do more. I need you. I can't do this without you. So I stayed because I loved him. And I realized during my pregnancy with our daughter that he wasn't going to change. And that was absolutely heartbreaking. To know that here I'm bringing another life into this world, and the person I'd chosen to spend the rest of my life with and to be her father wasn't going to be there for us. He wasn't going to care about me, and he definitely wasn't going to care about taking care of his children. There's part of me that does believe that he loves them, but he doesn't know how to be there for them any more than he was there for me. A lot of people, when it started, that I did reach out to, kind of brushed it off. They asked me, well, did he hit you? And I always said no. And then it was very quick, well, then maybe it's not abuse. Maybe it's just, maybe he's going through a hard time. He's just stressed. So many people, oh my gosh, so many people tell me he's just stressed. You're young, you're going through a stressful time. You just had a baby, work through it. And the worst part was that people told me that, I should stay with him for my children's sake because that's the right thing to do. I was 17 when I got pregnant with my son. And so that was hard enough, being judged for that. But I didn't want to be judged for being the single mother who didn't try to make the relationship work. Especially with somebody who, on the outside and publicly, claimed to be such a loving person towards me and his children. And it got to the point where, I felt crazy. I did. It's not like it happened overnight. Women don't get into a relationship with somebody they know is abusive. It's not like they go out on a first date and the next day he hits her. It's gradual. It's slow. And that's what I think a lot of people don't realize. I always knew he had a temper. Every once in a while, we'd fight and we'd argue and we'd get loud, but I always said, he's just a passionate person. He's like me. A lot of emotion, but I thought we could work through it. And then when I was 9 months pregnant, he came home drunk one night and tried to take my car keys and leave. And when I tried to stop him, that was the first time he ever put his hands on me. Didn't hit me, but picked me up and shoved me and threw me over the back of our couch. And I was afraid that I was going to lose our baby. And, anytime something would happen, he would immediately, the next day show so much remorse. Oh, I'm so sorry. I never meant to do that. I drank too much, or I was just angry. I let my emotions control me. I'm so sorry. It'll never happen again. And then there'd be this honeymoon phase, and he'd shower me with gifts, and he'd try really, really hard, and he'd be super loving and affectionate. And we'd repeat the cycle over and over and over again. I'd have left probably 10 times. But I kept going back because I felt like I was doing the right thing for my children by going back. And I realized now that that was not the right thing to do. And I was young, and I didn't have anybody who could relate, who I could go to. I had family and I had resources, but I didn't know how to use them. And I was trying to do what everybody told me to do, and that was to make it work. Because they didn't see the person that I was living with. They didn't see that side of him. And throughout that, he had started cheating on me. He started getting very, very paranoid. I'd come home from work a few minutes later than normal, and there's a bee. He would give me the third degree and question me, where were you? Who did you see? Where were you really at? Did you even go to work? Do I need to call? He would sniff my hair and my clothes, and, if I put on perfume or more makeup than I would normally, he'd want to know who I was going to see, and he would insist on going with me. He'd stop by my work to make sure I was really there. Just little things that did not make any sense to me because I had never done anything to make him question that. He would go through my phone, but I very quickly realized that he was the one who was hiding secrets. He was the one cheating and doing things on the side and lying about when he was going to work. But if I brought that up to him, he would manipulate me and make me feel like I was crazy. And he would I don't know how to explain it, but I literally, within a year or two of when things started to go downhill, I felt like I was crazy. Like maybe I was imagining it. Maybe I was had this misconstrued perception of what was really going on. And he always said, I'm not abusive. I don't hit you. And it felt kind of like brainwashing after a while. And I didn't know any better. I thought he needed me. I thought I was supposed to be there to help him. And things just escalated. And the fights would get worse. And he'd be more abusive. And his behavior was just erratic. And I got to the point where I was scared to say anything to him. I didn't want to talk to him. Every little thing I did, I was afraid I was walking, on eggshells because I thought he was going to snap at any minute. And we fought constantly. It was exhausting. He pushed me to quit school so that I could get a second job because he couldn't stay sober or motivated long enough to actually hold down a full-time job. It just made me feel like I was worthless, like I wasn't doing enough for my family, I wasn't a good enough mother, I wasn't a good enough wife. And that's why these things were happening, that it was my fault and that I was bringing out the worst in him. And it took me a long time to realize that wasn't true. When I finally did leave, it was scary. But I realized that I could not set this example for my kids anymore. My little girl was 6 months old, and I realized I didn't want her for a second thinking that it was okay for a man to treat a woman like this. That it wasn't okay for him to scream and yell and throw things and make her feel scared or trapped. That it wasn't okay to make her feel worthless and cheat on her and control, her time and her money and who she could see and who she could talk to and when she couldn't go see her own family. I never wanted my daughter to feel scared. I want her to know that she's worth it and she's loved. And I don't ever want my son to think that it's okay to treat a woman that way. That it's okay to boss her around and sit back while she does all the work. And that she's, less than you are because she's a woman. I don't ever want my children to think that. So I left. And it was hard. And those couple months afterwards were very scary. He was very erratic. Lots of scary phone calls and threats. I had friends, thankfully, that would help me by staying at my house to watch my house. And he had friends that would stop by and take pictures of the vehicles that were outside my house, and he made death threats and threatened to come and kidnap my children and take them somewhere where I would never find them, and I was terrified. And I'm very, very thankful that another man came into my life, and despite the fact that I was terrified and didn't want to be in another relationship, he supported me through all of my healing and everything I was going through, and made me realize that, this is how things are supposed to be. When I left, my ex told me, he said, I hope that the next guy beats the shit out of you, because then you'll realize just how good you had it with me, because I never hit you. And in that moment, I realized how brainwashed I'd been. I realized that you don't have to close-fisted hit a woman for it to be abuse. And I don't know why it took me so long to realize that. And I hope that anybody who watches this realizes that he doesn't have to hit you for it to be abuse. There's so many other forms that it can take. And some of it's less obvious than others. Some of it's not physical at all. It's how it makes you feel as to whether or not it's abuse or not. And it took me almost 2 years to let go of the guilt that I felt. He told me that I had ruined his life, that I took his children from him. He told lies in the small town we were living in, so that people thought he was this horrible person who had cheated on him and taken everything from him and left him with nothing. And he was just this good father and good husband who doesn't know what happened. And that wasn't the case at all. And I realized that I didn't have to answer to those people, that in time they would see the truth, and that I just needed to take care of me and my children. And that's what I did. And it's been 4.5 years now, and I'm remarried, and together we have a baby girl, and my children have never been happier. He is dad to them, and I never thought I would feel like myself again. I didn't realize how far gone I was and how much I had lost myself until I started healing, and until I started seeing the old me come back. And I realized how much I missed that and how happy I could be. And I just want to encourage any woman who might be in that position, scared to leave, or thinking that this is what they deserve, or that it's not going to get better, that's not true. You do deserve better, and better does exist. It might not happen right away. It might take years. I don't know. But I know that anything is better than living in fear every single day, than being miserable in your relationship and feeling like you have no control over your own life. And it's scary. And this is the biggest reason I'm participating in the Angel Run, because there were 22 women that we are running for who never made it out. And I feel lucky that I did, and I got a second chance. And it's important to me to share my story and to let other women know that they're not alone, and that there are resources out there that can help them. So I hope that this month you guys will think about those women who are hurting and who are trying to rebuild their lives, and that you'll consider becoming part of the Angel Run and maybe donating towards the cause. Thanks, guys.